The envelope sat unopened on my hotel nightstand for 3 days. Inside was a key that would either save me or break me completely. But I'm getting ahead of myself. If you're watching this, hit subscribe and drop a comment telling me where you're from. Now smash that like button if you love a good karma story. Because what happened next? Nobody saw it coming. The hospital called at 2:43 a.m. on a Wednesday. My daughter's voice, barely recognizable through her sobs. Mom, something's wrong with Thomas. His heart. By the time I reached Seattle Grace Medical Center, my 43-year-old son-in-law was gone. Aneurysm. No warning signs. The doctor's words blurred together as I stood in that sterile hallway, trying to comprehend how a marathon runner could simply cease to exist. My daughter Rachel stood rigid beside me, her expression unreadable. When our eyes met, I saw something flicker across her face that I couldn't quite place. Was it relief? No. Grief does strange things to people. What happens now? I whispered. Rachel's jaw tightened. Now we deal with reality. Mom Thomas is gone, and I have a life to rebuild. The coldness in her tone sent ice through my veins. We'd always been close. Until she married Thomas 5 years ago, he'd been the glue holding us together. Without him? I was about to find out just how fragile that bond really was. We'll get through this together, sweetheart, I said, reaching for her hand. She pulled away. We'll see. I should have known then. Should have recognized the warning. Instead, I told myself she was in shock. People grieve differently, right? The funeral was 3 days later. I offered to help with expenses. Thomas had been like a son to me, but Rachel insisted on handling everything herself. I'm his wife, she kept saying. I know what he would have wanted. Fair enough. I focused on supporting her however I could, calling relatives, writing a eulogy she ultimately didn't use, trying to hold myself together. At 64, I'd buried my husband and both parents. But losing Thomas felt different. He'd been the family I'd chosen, the son I never had. The night before the funeral, I stayed at a nearby hotel. Rachel had made it clear my presence at their Portland condo was too much right now. I understood. Or at least I tried to. What I didn't understand was the phone call I received at midnight. Margaret. Rachel's voice was flat, businesslike. We need to talk about your living situation. My living situation? I'd sold my house in Spokane 18 months ago, giving Rachel and Thomas $55,000 to help with their condo down payment. The plan was for me to stay with them temporarily while I looked for something smaller in Portland. Somehow temporary had become permanent. I'd grown comfortable cooking dinners, helping with the household, being useful. What about it, honey? The condo is in Thomas's name, which means it's mine now and I need space to grieve without complications. Complications. That's what I was now. Rachel, surely we can... I need you out by Friday. That gives you 2 days after the funeral. Should be plenty of time. The line went dead. The funeral was beautiful. Rachel played the grieving widow perfectly. Tears on cue, trembling voice during her speech, gracious acceptance of condolences. But I overheard her talking to her sister behind the flower arrangements. Between the life insurance and the 401k, I'm looking at close to $400,000, Rachel said quietly. Without certain expenses, I could pay off the condo and have money left over. What about Margaret? Her sister asked. Rachel's laugh was sharp. That's not my problem anymore. She can figure it out like everyone else. My blood turned to ice. Every dollar I'd given them, every meal I'd cooked, every time I'd bitten my tongue when Rachel made dismissive comments about Thomas's little charity project. It all crystallized into painful clarity. I'd been naive. After the funeral, Rachel pulled me into the kitchen. We need to finalize your departure, she said, as casually as discussing the weather. Friday at 6 p.m. I've already started packing your things. Where exactly do you expect me to go? She shrugged. You're a resourceful woman, Margaret. You'll figure something out. Thomas would be horrified. Thomas is dead. The words came out flat, final. The sooner you accept that, the better. I packed my life into suitcases and boxes. 64 years reduced to what would fit in my Subaru. Rachel helped, not out of kindness, but to ensure I left on schedule. As I loaded the last box, I turned to her. "I wish I knew what I did to make you hate me." Rachel's expression didn't soften. "I don't hate you, Margaret. I just don't need you anymore," Thomas felt. "Obligated to you. I don't." I drove to a Courtyard Marriott off I-5, checked in for a week, and sat on the bed in my generic room staring at my reflection. Who was this woman? Widowed, essentially homeless, unwanted. But as I sat there, something unexpected stirred in my chest. Not despair, though that was there too, anticipation. Rachel thought she'd won. What she didn't know was that Thomas had been a far better man than she'd ever appreciated. The call came 11 days later, just as my savings account was beginning to look frightening. "Mrs. Chen, this is Robert Fitzgerald from Fitzgerald Legal. I handled Thomas's estate planning." "Yes, Mr. Fitzgerald, I remember you. I'm calling because the probate process is complete. There's a formal reading of Thomas's will next Thursday at 3 p.m. Your presence is required." Required? I think there might be some confusion. Rachel seemed certain. "Mrs. Chen," he interrupted gently, "Thomas's will specifically names you as a beneficiary. I'll see you Thursday." After he hung up, I stared at my phone. Thomas had left me something after all. Probably his grandfather's watch or the family photo albums. Rachel would be furious, but she'd have to accept it. I spent the week apartment hunting online, calculating how long my pension and social security could stretch. Thursday at 2:45 p.m, I sat in the parking lot of Fitzgerald Legal, watching Rachel arrive in Thomas's Tesla, wearing a black Chanel suit. She'd brought her sister Lauren and a man who looked like an attorney. When I walked into the reception area, Rachel's face darkened. "What is she doing here?" "Mrs. Chen is here for the will reading," the receptionist replied smoothly. "Which Mrs. Chen?" "Both of you, apparently." The reading began exactly as I'd expected. Rachel inherited the condo, the cars, Thomas's 401k, his life insurance. She nodded approvingly at each item, occasionally glancing at me with barely concealed satisfaction. Then Mr. Fitzgerald's tone changed. "There is, however, one final provision that Thomas added 6 months ago." The room went silent. "To my mother-in-law, Margaret Chen, who provided the down payment for our home and never asked for repayment, I leave the contents of Safety Deposit Box 7742 at Columbia Bank, along with all associated documentation and account information contained therein." "What safety deposit box?" Rachel's voice cracked. "Thomas never mentioned." "He maintained it privately," Mr. Fitzgerald said. "He was very specific about Mrs. Chen receiving the contents." "What's in it?" Lauren demanded. "I don't know. Thomas simply provided access instructions." Rachel stood abruptly. "We're challenging this. It should be part of the estate." "You're welcome to try," Mr. Fitzgerald said mildly. But Thomas was completely competent when he added this provision. I witnessed it myself. "When exactly did he do this?" I asked quietly. Mr. Fitzgerald consulted his notes. 6 months ago. March 12th. March 12th. The day after Rachel had jokingly told Thomas at a dinner party that she'd married him for his earning potential, not his conversation skills. I'd watched the hurt flash across his face before he'd covered it with a forced laugh. Rachel's attorney started making notes. "We'll need full disclosure of—" "Actually," Mr. Fitzgerald interrupted, pulling out an envelope. "Thomas left specific instructions." He handed it to me. "These are the bank documents and his key. The bank needs to verify everything. Usually takes about 5 business days." Rachel's eyes fixed on the envelope like a predator. "I'm coming to the bank with you." "That's not possible. The box access is restricted to Mrs. Chen only." Rachel's mask slipped completely. "This is insane." I stood, clutching the envelope. "I suppose I'll find out what's inside next week." In the parking lot, Rachel cornered me. "Margaret, let's be reasonable. Whatever's in that box, we should share it. Thomas would have wanted—" "You made it very clear what Thomas wanted," I interrupted, "when you threw me out of your home." Her jaw clenched. "Don't forget, you're living in a hotel. You need my goodwill." I met her eyes steadily. Actually, Rachel, I don't think I need anything from you at all. 5 business days felt like 5 years. Finally, I stood before Safety Deposit Box 7742 at Columbia Bank. The manager, Mrs. Patel, escorted me personally to the vault. Box 7742 is one of our larger units, she explained. Mr. Chen rented it about 4 years ago and visited monthly. 4 years? Thomas had been planning this for 4 years? The box was heavy. In the private viewing room, I lifted the lid with trembling hands. The first thing I saw was a letter addressed to me, Margaret. If you're reading this, I'm gone. And Rachel has probably shown you exactly who she is. I'm sorry, but I'm not surprised. I've known for 2 years what kind of person I married. I've been preparing for this. You gave us $55,000 for our down payment. You thought of it as a loan, even though you never asked for repayment. I've been investing that money for the past 4 years, adding to it whenever possible. The money in these accounts isn't just repayment, it's what careful planning has grown into. I set the letter down with shaking hands and looked at the documents underneath. Bank statements, investment portfolios, account numbers. My eyes scanned the balances, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. $237,000 in various accounts, all in my name. I picked up Thomas's letter again, my vision blurring. Rachel has been telling people you contribute nothing. What she doesn't mention is that I've been documenting everything. Every cruel comment, every manipulation, every lie. It's all in the folder labeled documentation. You deserve better than the way she's treated you. Take this money and build a life where no one can make you feel unwanted again. Don't tell Rachel about any of this until you're safely away from her. All my love. Thomas. The documentation folder contained years of evidence, printed emails, text screenshots, credit card statements showing luxury purchases made the same days Rachel claimed they were broke. There was even an email thread between Rachel and Lauren discussing plans to have me declared incompetent so they could access my pension. Thomas had seen everything, and he'd protected me. I sat in that small room for over an hour, piecing together the truth of my daughter's betrayal. When I finally emerged, Mrs. Patel helped me transfer everything to a secure envelope. As I walked to my car, my phone rang. Margaret. Rachel's voice was honey-sweet. I was wondering if you'd like to come over for lunch tomorrow. We could discuss what you found. I smiled at my reflection in the car window. That's very kind, Rachel. I'll be there at noon. It was time for Rachel to learn that the people you underestimate are often the ones who surprise you most. I arrived at Rachel's condo carrying a gift bag and wearing my best poker face. She answered in a flowing cream dress, all smiles. Margaret, I am so glad you came. I made your favorite salmon. The dining room table was set with wedding china, fresh lilies in a crystal vase. Rachel had clearly invested effort in this performance. We made small talk while she worked up to what she really wanted. So, she finally said, I've been thinking about the safety deposit box. About family sticking together. Family, I repeated. Interesting choice of words. I know we've had our differences, but Thomas would want us to support each other. Maybe we could combine resources. I have excellent financial advisors. That's thoughtful. What makes you think there was anything valuable in the box? She paused. Well, Thomas was always so private about finances. He must have had a reason. Private. Interesting word. I sipped my water. What did you find, Margaret? I brought you something. I pulled out the gift bag, a thank you gift. She unwrapped it eagerly, a framed photo of Thomas from their wedding day. Oh, Margaret, this is lovely. I thought you should have it. You were such a devoted wife. The emphasis wasn't lost on her. She looked up sharply. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing at all. Just appreciating how well you took care of Thomas. Margaret, you're being cryptic. Just tell me what was in the box. I smiled. Documents mostly. Very interesting reading material. What kind of documents? Financial records, investment statements, some correspondence? I paused. Quite a few printed emails and text messages. The colour drained from her face. Text messages. Thomas was quite thorough. Would you like to see one? I pulled out my phone. This is from 8 months ago. I turned the screen toward her, showing a text to Lauren. God, I can't wait until the old bat finally leaves, then we can convert her room into my yoga studio. Rachel lunged for my phone, but I pulled it back smoothly. There are dozens more. This next one's particularly enlightening. You texting your attorney about having me declared incompetent. Stop. And this email where you're laughing with Lauren about how gullible I am. Rachel's composure cracked. He had no right to save private messages. Actually, he had every right. You were discussing his mother-in-law in his house. What do you want? Want? I don't want anything from you, Rachel. I never did. Then why are you doing this? I considered. The question. You threw me out the day after Thomas's funeral. You told me I was worthless, that he felt sorry for me. But here's what you didn't understand. Thomas saw everything. You can't prove any of this would hold up in court. Court? I laughed. Oh, sweetheart, I'm not taking you to court. She blinked. You're not. Why would I? You've already given me everything I need. I pulled out Thomas's folder and placed it on the table. Thomas left me more than screenshots. He left me 4 years of evidence showing exactly how you manipulated us both. Bank statements proving the mortgage was auto-deducted from his salary while I lived here. Email chains between you and Lauren discussing the Margaret situation. Credit card statements showing $18,000 in luxury purchases the month before he died, while you told him you were worried about grocery money. Rachel's breathing became shallow. What do you want from me? Nothing. But I thought you should know. That $55,000 I gave you? Thomas invested it. Very carefully. For 4 years. I pulled out my phone and opened the banking app. The account balance filled the screen, $237,000. Rachel grabbed the table edge to steady herself. That's impossible. Thomas was a careful investor and, apparently, very motivated to ensure his mother-in-law was taken care of. That money should be split between us. Should it? Based on what legal principle? Based on the fact that I'm his wife and you're just his mother-in-law. The casual cruelty of just his mother-in-law hit me, but instead of pain, I felt clarity. You're right. I am just his mother-in-law, the woman who lent you the down payment for the condo where you threw me out like garbage. I stood, and apparently that was enough for Thomas to make sure I'd never depend on anyone's charity again. Wait. Panic crept into her voice. Margaret, wait. Let's work this out. Work what out? The money, our relationship, everything. She was speaking quickly now. I made mistakes. I was stressed, but we can fix this. I pulled out one more document. Thomas's documentation of Rachel's spending habits. $18,000 charged in the month before he died, spa treatments. Designer clothes. A weekend in Napa with Lauren, all while telling Thomas you were worried about basic expenses. She collapsed into her chair. You don't understand the pressure I was under. What pressure? Everyone expected me to be perfect. Thomas's colleagues, the neighbours. Do you know how exhausting it is to maintain appearances? I looked at her, in her designer dress, in her beautiful condo, surrounded by luxury, complaining about appearances. No, Rachel. I don't. Because I was too busy taking care of your husband while you spent his money. I loved Thomas. You loved what Thomas could provide. There's a difference. She was crying now. I can't lose everything. You're not losing everything. You inherited a $600,000 condo, a $250,000 life insurance policy, and his 401k. You're set for life if you manage it properly. But it's not enough for the life I planned. Then maybe you planned the wrong life. I walked out into the Portland sunshine, leaving her surrounded by her carefully constructed world. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's justice served exactly when needed most. And sometimes, if you're lucky, it comes with a healthy bank balance and the knowledge that the person you loved turned out to be exactly who you hoped they'd be. Thomas had kept his promise. Even from beyond the grave, he'd taken care of me. And that, more than any amount of money, was the greatest gift he could have given. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.